Okay, now we want to know how we want to identify the hazard, how you want to assess the risk, and how you are going to control the risk. So, according to the Department of Safety and Health, HIRAC are used to identify all the factors that may cause harm to employees and others, such as visitors, to consider what are the chances of that harm actually befalling anyone in the circumstances of a particular case and the possible severity that could come from it, to enable employers to plan, introduce, and monitor preventive measures to ensure that the risks are adequately controlled at all times. So these are the steps in HIRAC. So please remember that under OSHA 1994, safety is the responsibility of everyone, including the employer as well as the worker. So everyone must get involved. Okay, the first step is classify work activities. The work activities can be classified according to the similarity, either according to the physical area such as office, store, or excavation area. Or you can classify it into the stages in construction activities, for example, like excavation stage or piling stage, okay? And then it also can be classified into defined tasks, even a simpler task such as fixing the door. The next step is identify hazard. Hazard can be identified by 4 methods. The first one, review of available document. For example, like chemical registry or material safety datasheet can be obtained from the manufacturer of the chemical, plant layout, equipment and specification, procedure and control measure (SOP), job safety analysis. The second way is by walkthrough, observation and monitoring to gather possible evidence, for example, by taking photograph. And also, environmental monitoring can be conducted. For example, if you want to measure how much the concentration of the dust at site exposed by the workers, so you can put dust meter at the site to measure how much the worker is exposed within 8 hours of working. And this environmental monitoring will provide scientific evidence. And number 3 is feedback from workers. You can get it from the survey or complaint or by interview. And number 4 is medical record, where you can get it from the administrative office, such as cases of occupational poisoning and diseases, cases of accident, MC record, and health surveillance report. Number 3 is evaluating the risk. This process, evaluating the risk, must follow the severity rating and likelihood rating. To estimate the risk, the common technique that used are by looking at the risk metric. And one of the reasons why we need to evaluate the risk because we want to rank the risk, whether the risk is high, low, or medium. So when we want to do risk evaluation or risk assessment, there are 2 methods, either qualitative or quantitative risk assessment. Qualitative is more on subjective, which has no numerical. For example, like if the hazard is highly likely, it means that it could happen frequently. If the hazard is remote, it means it could happen but very rarely case. For the severity categories, there are 5 categories. Catastrophic normally will involve numerous fatalities and damage to property and environment. And then fatalities, major injuries, minor injuries, and negligible injuries. Okay, look at the matrix. So, for example, like if the risk is, the likelihood is remote, which only happen once in a year, for example. So, but the severity, the tendency of consequence is major, which is can cause amputation, for example. So, remote and major or serious injury is medium. So, the risk rating or the risk evaluation is medium. Okay. And another way is by using quantitative. Quantitative is more objective and more formal. Okay. For example, like if the likelihood to happen is daily. Okay, for example, you are exposed to noise every day, so you can put 4. For severity categories, for example, like if the effect is only a few days, maybe the worker will get MC less than 4 days, so the severity categories is 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. So by measuring the scale of risk using the quantitative risk table, you will get scale 8 until 16 is high risk. Okay, so you look at this risk matrix, risk table. So 8 high risk, and daily and less than 4 days MC is high risk. 8. So what are the action? Need immediate action and action by top management, and detailed action plan is required. Okay, this is how you want to evaluate the risk. And later on, after you have identified or ranked the risk according to the high, medium or low, you can do some control measures according to the hierarchy of risk control. The top hierarchy, or the most preferred one, is elimination. If possible, you can remove the hazard. You must remove the hazard at the first place. But if the hazard cannot be removed, you can jump to the substitution, whereby you can change or substitute the less hazardous machinery or chemical. Number 3 is isolation, meaning to say you put the source of hazard into the isolated area. Okay, for example, like noisy machine, you can put in the enclosed area to reduce the exposure, and only a few persons who operate the machine will expose. And number 4 is engineering control. Engineering control is like place sound barrier at site, which is engineering control normally will put together with the machine. Okay. And number 5 is administrative control. Administrative control is the control made by the management or the administration. For example, like give proper training to the workers before they start working, and then give proper work schedule and work shift. That is administrative control. And also prepare the first aid kit is also administrative control. And the least preferred or the last resort is personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment is anything that people wear to protect themselves. For example, if you want to protect your eyes, you wear the shatterproof eye protection, and then make sure that the PPE is suitable with the work. Okay, for example, like if someone is working at the excavation area, they must wear earmuff because it can cause noise hazard, and also dust. So the worker must wear face mask. And safety boot must be wear at all time. And make sure that PPE is recognized by CRIM, and it must be frequently checked. So this is another example of inside the manual of the HIRAC, which is the table for HIRAC. So the first column is hazard identification, second column is risk analysis, and the third column is risk control. In conclusion, the same hazard does not always pose same risk, and hazard identification should be properly documented even in the simplest of situations. Risk assessment must include a careful assessment of both likelihood and severity of consequences. The control measures must be a good solution to avoid hazard become danger, and the risk management process is an ongoing process, so keep updating the risk management. I hope everyone will understand what are health hazard and safety in construction. With that, thank you.